people see Allan Gray Makers and they automatically associate us with the investment company. So as an organization, we then focus on what is called venture progression.
It's okay for you to
Fail.
fail. That's
fail
part of the
forward.
journey. Fail forward.
Yes.
And do explain what failing forward looks like. Trades are lucrative. I know tradespeople that are living lavish lives. Hi, welcome to the Comms Hub, where we discuss all things branding, PR, and media relations. My name is Abigail Calata, and I'm the head of PR at Sihle Communications. With me today is Sihle Mofokeng, program manager at Allan Gray Makers. Welcome to the Comms Hub, Sihle. It's great to have you.
Thank you so much for having me, Abigail.
So I'll jump into the questions immediately. We know Allan Gray Investments, but now what is Allan Gray Makers?
Sure, and thank you for starting with that question because, people see Allan Gray Makers and they automatically associate us with the investment company. So the only thing really that we have in common is that we were both founded by the same person,
Yeah.
so Mr. Allan Gray. So back in 1973, Mr. Allan Gray founded Allan Gray Limited, which is the investment company. And he really thought, to fight unemployment, inequality, and poverty in South Africa, you need more entrepreneurs.
Okay.
So then he started Allan and Jill Gray Philanthropies, which really looks after the investment into the next generation of entrepreneurs. So they're really different entities that look after different entrepreneurial journeys. So you look at entities like Allan Gray Orbis Foundation, they're looking after the actual entrepreneur, and we call them the jockey. So they're looking after the jockey.
Okay.
You get then E Squared, which is another entity, which really then helps this entrepreneur as a financial vehicle once they've started their business, and we call them a horse.
Right. Okay.
And then you have where I sit, Allan and Jill Gray Philanthropy South Africa. And our work is really to look after this entrepreneurial ecosystem so that when this jockey and horse is ready, the grass is ready and green. So that's the analogy that we like to use. So that is the work that we're doing, really just looking after the entrepreneurial ecosystem.
But there's a specific sector that you are concerned with. What sector is that?
Sure. So maybe if I can just break down Allan and Jill Gray Philanthropy South Africa. So what Allan and Jill Gray Philanthropy South Africa, AGGPSA for a shorter term,
Okay.
really does research around the ecosystem to find out what are some of the binding constraints. So what are some of the reasons why entrepreneurs are not so successful or thriving? What is wrong with the ecosystem? And after doing some research or diagnosing of the ecosystem, we then go one of two possible ways. So the one way is that we find organizations who exist, who are currently trying to solve those binding constraints, and then we just simply fund those organizations to continue doing the work that they're doing. And of course, then those are lessons for us in terms of how can we replicate all of those solutions that currently exist in the ecosystem.
Yeah.
And the second thing that we do, so if we find that there's nobody solving any of the problems that we're finding, we will then incubate
Okay.
a new program or a new organization to try and solve that problem that we have seen. So that is how Allan Gray Makers was born.
Okay.
Is that after doing some research, it was found that actually nobody was investing in the trades and
Yeah.
entrepreneurship in the trades.
Yeah.
So then Allan Gray Makers was started to do exactly that. So then in this ecosystem, we are specifically then focusing on how to address some of the challenges that we're seeing for artisanal entrepreneurs.
Okay. So the makers in Allan Gray Makers are tradespeople. And when we're talking about tradespeople, who exactly are we talking? What trades are we focused on?
Sure. So in South Africa, you've got like 125 trades.
Really?
Yeah. But as Allan Gray Makers, we have specifically chosen to focus on the high priority trades. So the government through DHETS, which is the Department of Education and Training, has identified 13 high priority trades in the country. And we, as an organization, Allan Gray Makers, have decided that we will focus on just 7 of those 13 high priority trades, and we will focus on supporting entrepreneurs within those trades. So we're looking at trades like construction related trades, so plumbing, bricklaying, carpentry, trades like welding. Those are the trades that we are really focused on to really support those entrepreneurs. And hopefully what we are doing as well is kind of demonstrating to other organizations out there that if you follow this path and you focus on the trades and you help them like this, then this is what could the end result be. And then hopefully other organizations will also take it up and focus on the other trades that we don't focus on.
Yeah. So, without these trades, we would not have this building. We would not have these lights. The water wouldn't be running. So these trades are quite crucial, especially for the economy as well, because these are things that are drivers of the building, the lights. I would not be able to do my work if those trades were to disappear and people would not be going into it anymore. Yeah. So, Allan Gray Makers, what are some of the programs that you are offering to tradespeople in those sectors?
So, as an organization, we then focus on what is called venture progression, right?
Okay.
Because as Allan Gray Makers, it's important to note that we are an entrepreneurship development organization first.
Okay.
And we have just chosen to do that entrepreneurship development within the trades.
Okay.
So some of the programs that then we have the Startup Academy, where we are supporting those who have qualified from a TVET college or through an apprenticeship, or maybe have done an apprenticeship but haven't qualified. Maybe they don't have their trade test yet. And so we're trying to help those young people for them to realize that the skill that they currently have can be their business idea.
Okay.
They don't need to think about something. That is it.
Yeah.
And then we also then have another program which is called the Build program, where we're helping those who have started trade businesses. How do we help them to actually formalize their businesses and actually start growing that business?
Yeah.
How do we move them from pre-seed to seed? Now I'm using like entrepreneurship language here.
Yeah.
How do you move them progress that business?
Yeah.
And then the third program that we have is called then the Grow program, where we're really helping those who are more mature within their trade businesses. So how do we help them access different customers? So move them from B2C to B2B. How do we help them to access more financing? And how do we really help them to really take their business to the next level?
Yeah.
And that's why we call it venture progression, because we understand that business will have to start somewhere at probably Startup Academy. And then you have to progress that business through all of these stages. So you have the launch phase, you've got the pre-seed, you've got seed, then you've got early growth and growth. So those are the stages that a business will have to go through. And we realize that will take a long time. So we are currently estimating that it will probably take a business about 7 years to move from 0 revenue to about 5 million revenue. And then at that point, we believe that, we would have supported that business sufficiently enough to be able to then go out there, access even more capital, access even more markets. And then at that point, they really don't need the support from Allan Gray Makers. But, we'll still be there all the time.
So you're trying to make the business grow so that they're sustainable.
Yes. So what we're trying to do is we don't want another business that will fail in 3 years or in 2 years' time. If you look at the stats in South Africa, it's scary in terms of how long businesses survive. We know that most businesses will probably fail after 2 to 3 years.
Yeah.
So if we take then this approach of venture progression, It's us noticing that, there are baby steps within different parts of the business that will have to be worked on consistently
Yeah.
before our business will be able to thrive and flourish.
Okay. But in the entrepreneurial journey, failure is part of the journey.
Definitely.
So how do you then, maybe I'm a plumber and I tried, establishing my own business, not to go work for somebody necessarily. I tried and I failed for various reasons.
Yeah.
Do you get involved in any of that? How do you, communicate to people that it's okay for you to fail? That's
fail
part of
forward.
the journey. Fail forward.
Yes.
And do explain what failing forward looks like.
But fail forward. And I think maybe that's why then in this venture progression that I'm talking about, or part of all of our programs, we'll always have business advisory services, we'll always have mentorship services, we'll also have like psychosocial support. I mean, it's also a very lonely journey.
Yes.
So it needs to be that wraparound support, right? And through all of this support and in this venture progression, it's also to note that when you do fail, or if you do fail, how are you able to then get up and try again?
Yeah.
How are you able to pivot when things are not going the way that you thought they would? The goals that you're setting for your business, are they realistic, achievable goals? Are they SMART goals? So those are all the things that then are part of the support that we're giving to these entrepreneurs. But yes, you're right. Failure is part of it. But as I said, failing forward, failing quickly. And when I say failing quickly, you failed, but how quickly are you able to get up and actually try again?
Yes.
So that is part of the journey. And I think as an organization, that is part of the journey that we are willing to support.
Excellent. So obviously at the Comms Hub, we're talking about communication. Sure. And in the work, and I mean, you yourself said entrepreneurial lingo. Yeah. Which is not always accessible to the everyday people.
Sure.
So, what are some of the ways in which you, make information accessible? Because obviously artisans, they won't necessarily know what the term is, but they might have the experience which that term explains. How do you communicate? How do you make your communication accessible? Especially when you're trying to communicate to people, to artisans, that, hey, here's actually support for you. Yeah.
So it is very, very, very difficult, actually. So firstly, I think it's really trying to understand who your audience is, one, where your audience is sitting. So am I using the right channels or platforms to actually reach my audience and where they are sitting, and also use terms that they are used to. We have with me leading all the marketing efforts for Allan Gray Makers, I always use the terminology of a window and a mirror.
Okay.
So a mirror is whenever we are communicating, there should be an element of a reflection. So if somebody is reading this or watching a video or interacting with our social media, there must be an element of a mirror. So they must be able to see themselves in what we are saying.
Okay.
Right? But then it's also our responsibility to give them a window. So we must stretch as well. So how do we also then throw in different kinds of communication or words or lingo that people might not know, because that is the window. Now people must be willing to know, or want to find out more. What does that mean? What does that look like?
Yeah.
And I think if we really are saying as an organization, because we say our purpose is to ignite dignity and meaning in life by accelerating artisanal entrepreneurship, it's all of those little things that bring dignity to the trade. So we shouldn't always just damn things down, but also just, allow people to aspire to want to know more.
Okay. So you talked about audience, you talked about platforms. who who is the audience that you are targeting with your communication, and which platforms do you use?
Sure. Again, I think by just understanding where they are sitting. So, for example, let me take our social media. On our social media, we know very well that most of our artists and entrepreneurs are sitting on Facebook. So we know that when we are putting comms out and it's on Facebook, that is where we are talking to these artists and entrepreneurs directly.
Yeah.
Sure. But then on our LinkedIn, we know that it's not necessarily the artisans themselves sitting there, but it's all of these secondary people, like maybe other organizations who work with artisans, other people who might know artisans. And that's why even when we post on LinkedIn, we'll always use terms like, do you know of? You know, whereas on Facebook, we're saying, are you an artisan who's willing to do 1, 2, 3? Because we understand that that is where they are sitting. And even from our stats and results, that is where we see the most engagement in terms of artisans and true artisan stories. And yeah, so it's really about understanding who is sitting on which platform.
Yeah. But it's interesting that you say that they are sitting at Facebook. Are the young ones even sitting there? Is that even realistic? Because obviously there's a pipeline and there are young artisans coming through. Are they still using Facebook? Because this is Gen Z after all.
They are actually, they really, really are still using Facebook. TikTok is one of the platforms as well that they are sitting on. So it has been a stretch for myself as well to try and create some content that will then go and sit on TikTok as well. But also one of the other problems with this industry is that quite a lot of these artisans are quite senior.
Okay.
You know,
Yeah.
so maybe that's why we seeing quite a lot of them sitting on Facebook, and it's still not a career that most young people want to go into. So yeah, so those are also some of the challenges that we are seeing in the sector of the trades. But yeah, there are some young people sitting on Facebook. There are some young people sitting on TikTok. And then even in our programs, we then try and expose them to other platforms like, as I said, LinkedIn. So now you've done some work, go and post there because that is most likely where your clients are sitting. You know, that is where your B2C customers are actually going to come from.
Okay. Now we're coming back to the young ones.
Sure.
So you're saying it makes sense that the younger people might not be interested because we all want to be sitting behind a desk and, you know,
Wearing
white
a
collar. Yeah. White collar professions and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So how, first of all, you said these trades, the training happens at TVET colleges and internships. Are those the only places where these trades are being taught?
There are some private institutions that offer this training. And, you know, when you look at TVET colleges, some TVET colleges around the country also have what is called centers of specialization. So centers of specializations are really industry focused. So maybe let's take the Eastern Cape, for example, where you have Mercedes, you have VW. So maybe then Mercedes and VW will drive that center of specialization in terms of, for this province, we need people in the automotive sector.
Yeah.
And then that's how you would then get a center of specialization, really trying to get students so that there can be a pipeline for the industry that exists in that province.
Yeah.
So yeah, you've got centers of specializations, then the TVET colleges, some private institutions, and then you also get what is called just recognition of prior learning. You know, quite a lot of young people don't necessarily go to a TVET or go to any training institution, but this is a trade that they've learned from their dads, from their uncles, or other members of their family. So they've really learned by doing.
Yeah.
Right? So that is also recognized. I mean, if you have been working as a plumber, let's just say with your sister or your uncle, and you've been doing it for more than 3 years, you are actually seen as ready to take a trade test. So you would be seen as a candidate who has recognition of prior learning.
Yeah.
You'll just maybe have to do like a skills gap for them to see. Maybe you need a few courses in 1, 2, 3, but you can actually qualify and sit for a trade test.
Okay. So there needs to be an encouragement for young people that the trades are out there, that it's a means of generating income, building a livelihood. How do you communicate that? Because it's the significant obstacle, this thing where everybody wants to be a white collar worker and go to university and things like that.
I don't even think encouragement is the word because I think it's deeper than that. I think we really need to be doing more around changing perceptions, changing the perceptions of young people, how they see the trades, changing the perceptions of teachers, because these are influencers now, right?
Yes.
How they see the trades, changing the perceptions of their parents. So really changing perceptions of society in terms of how do we see the trades, you know? Silly example, let's say if you are traveling and you are sick, you'll probably Google like doctor near me and you will go to a doctor. But within the trades, we hardly do that. It has to be a referral.
No, for sure.
You know, like, no, I know this person who's done this for me, use them and all of those things. But why is that the case? You know, so how are we also helping artisans, one, to see themselves as worthy and like really qualified and worthy entrepreneurs?
Yeah.
And for them to take themselves seriously, you know? How do we then help teachers to see that these are very lucrative industries, you know, that exist there, and students can be channeled towards the trades? And I'm saying not as a last option, but even as a first option. How do you tell somebody who is getting an A in maths and accounting and all of those things not to go and become accounting, but position a different career to them? You know, how do we get parents to then encourage their kids to go into the trades, right? So all of this work is difficult work. And I think part of my work, working within this artisan or trades entrepreneur ecosystem, is one of that. How do we come up with campaigns that actually contribute towards changing the perceptions? And that's why we then have Artisans of Mzansi, for example.
Okay.
Because we've seen that, maybe the best way to elevate a sector is to recognize it and celebrate it.
Yes.
Right? And that's why we then started Artisans of Mzansi. How can we find the best of the best artisan entrepreneurs in the country? And how do we tell their stories? So get them onto radio, get them in front of a camera, go to a TV interview, you know, package their stories, take those stories into schools so that we can inspire more young people to follow in their footsteps. So those are some of the things that we are trying to do. And, you know, even now we've embarked on this really, really ambitious journey, or what can I call it, like a study or research, to try and find, like, do we have a tool, or can we develop a tool that will help us to actually measure perception change?
Oh.
You know, so with all the learners or parents or teachers that we're interacting with, we need to have a baseline of what their perception of the trades is now, and post our interventions.
Yeah.
Did we shift any of their perceptions and thinking? And I think for me, the biggest part about the study is that it will be like this long-term study, because my goals are things like, you know, when we're starting to see a different number in terms of the learners who are actually going into the trades after matric, you know, from the learners that we surveyed probably in grade 9, when we surveyed them again in matric, how many of them have actually chosen the trades as their first choice?
Yeah.
You know, so for me, those are all the interesting things that are coming along in terms of, are we really contributing towards changing these perceptions around the trades.
But don't you think by the time they're in high school, some things, some perceptions have kind of been solidified, you know, and that it's not that there isn't maybe value in giving them access or targeting them when they are younger. At primary school level already, that you start exposing them to the idea, just because the trades are lucrative. I know tradespeople that are living lavish lives. And
Very much so.
exactly. So are there even ideas around how can we target younger kids? Because, I mean, even if it's grade 6 and grade 7s, they already, you know, they're aware enough about things, and get them young before they get to high school, and where ideas and influences and things are that much more compelling.
Yeah. And I think maybe that's why for us, we're saying the high school learners, but we're also saying the teachers and the parents, because then those are the constant people in these institutions, right?
Yeah.
So maybe we might not be starting with the learners now, but the parents, you know, how are you changing your language? How are you relating to the trade so that you are having different conversations at home?
Yeah.
You know, and I think at the beginning I spoke about how we like to demonstrate, you know, we believe that our work that we are doing, not only as Allan Gray Makers, but as the entire Allan and Jill Gray Philanthropies, is we use our very limited resources to demonstrate how some of these solutions can scale. So some of the times we understand that probably this also needs to be done in a different sector or different age group, you know, different population, but we believe that through our demonstration, we now have this proof of concept also, and which somebody else can also take and be like, great, Allan Gray Makers, you guys have done well in high school, but let's go back, you know? So we don't believe that we should also be doing everything within, within the ecosystem. So we will demonstrate, and some of the things we want to hand over. You know, none of these things that we are doing as an organization. So if I'm talking about Artisans are from Mzansi, Artisans are from Mzansi needs to have an end. We can't be doing it forever. Because if we're doing it forever, then that means nothing is changing in the system, right? So if we are talking about, you know, you talk about the iceberg model, you know, those deep underlying things that nobody sees. So the transitional and the transformational levels, we need to be playing there and changing that so that the entire system can change.
Yeah, but it's very interesting because I'm just thinking, you know, the trades have also gotten a bad rep, you know, that if you were not, if you could work with your hands, that's usually where you would go. And when you're working with your hands, you're perceived to be not that intelligent, you know. Whereas it's interesting that you also say that you have to have good maths, physics, probably accounting as well. And those subjects are also subjects that propel people into academic, you know, scientist kind of directions. Because I'm just thinking about my son, for instance. He's very good in maths, and but he is in a house with creatives. His father's a journalist and a filmmaker, and he's like, I want to be a filmmaker. I want to be, you know, he wants 2 careers basically, filmmaking, and then he also wants to be a scientist. He wants to study BSc at university too. But like I know for a fact that there's money to be made in trades. I know my plumber is living lavish. I know my electrician is having a good time, you know. So, it's interesting that you also say that we really have to, the parents, and the other interesting thing is like my grandfather and my uncles on my mother's side, they were bricklayers, carpenters, they were tradespeople.
Yes.
And they were really good tradespeople. I mean, the house my mother lives in at the moment is a house that was built by my grandfather.
Yeah.
And so, like, the trade situation is not that far away from where I am right now. And yet, it was not something that that was even a consideration when we were making decisions around what we want to do next.
Yeah. And that's why then we say it's important to get into schools, get into different communities, talk to parents around all of the work that we're doing. And maybe interestingly enough, let me just tell you a story about Thamsanqa. We've got this maker called Thamsanqa Mnyeza, or Dr. Thamsanqa Mnyeza.
Okay.
So you see, you've got people in the trades who study all the way till PhD level.
Yeah.
Right? So that shows you that is not somebody who is not smart. Right? That is somebody who is really, really smart. I mean, Thamsanqa, and how we even eventually got to study and get to PhD level is that when he started his trade business, air conditioning and refrigeration, he realized that, okay, now I'm at the point in my business where I have employees and I actually don't know anything about HR. And he would go and study around HR. Nothing about finance. Okay, maybe let me do a finance course. Let me do an MBA. And he studied all the way till PhD level, but he is an artisan. He is a refrigeration and air conditioning artisan. You know, you look at somebody, one of our other artisans, Dipuo Pagati, also was working within Standard Bank. Very, very good position there as well. And she just had this side hustle, just making kitchen cupboards, and she left her job at Standard Bank to actually go and do this full time. Maybe what I'm trying to drive home is that, you do need to have a level of maths and science there within these trades as well. So they are really smart people, and they are seeing opportunities that quite a lot of people, I think, are not seeing yet. And that's why then it's important, for example, campaigns like Artisans of Mzansi. How do we then use Dipuo's story to inspire, Abigail sitting at Rondebosch girls, if there is a school like that, primary school, or sitting at St. Mary's DSG, or sitting at Mkonjwana High School,
or even at St. John's College.
Yes, how do we help those people see that these are actually lucrative businesses? People are leaving very cushy jobs in corporate to actually go and pursue this full time.
Yeah, and I mean, there's really something to be said for making something, and then with your hands, and then you see it. It's a concrete thing that you've made, that you poured yourself into, and it's there for other people's use. And it's not just their use; it's for their enjoyment sometimes as well. So it's really. Yeah, we really want, and we really need tradespeople. It's like not even, it's a no-brainer how much we need them. And it's really, alarming that not more people are going into it.
Yeah, I mean, and if you look at some stats from DHET, for example, we need to be producing about 30,000 each year.
Yeah.
Until 2030.
Okay.
Artisans. At the moment, we're sitting around 20,000 qualified artisans being produced each year.
Okay.
So we have a shortfall.
We do.
You get then the Minister of Public Works and Infrastructure announcing things like South Africa needs to be a construction site. There's a trillion rand, allocated to construction in the country or infrastructure and maintenance of infrastructure, but you don't have the people to do it, right?
Not the hands.
Not the hands. But, and yeah, those are some of the encouragement then that exists out there, that, there are opportunities that exist. But then with realizing that there are opportunities that exist, quite a lot of work also still needs to be done in terms of, how are we advocating for better financial products for artisan entrepreneurs or entrepreneurs who are making less than $1 million revenue, because if you look at the artisan space, it's you will hardly get consistent work. It's mostly seasonal. You don't have really a lot of people on a permanent basis, so your books are really up and down, up and down. So understanding all of those things, how do we then advocate at financial institutions for better products for these artisan entrepreneurs? How do we negotiate with other institutions? So maybe your insurance companies to bring in new people into the insurance panels and stop using, not stop, maybe distribute the business equally, not just trust Abigail because Abigail has been doing it for the past 50 years.
Yes.
But how are we bringing in more people into the panel? So those are all the other things that then, as Allan Gray Makers as well, is the work that we need to do in terms of supporting this artisan entrepreneurial ecosystem. Because once they've completed that venture progression model that I was telling you about, so from start, build and grow, they need to land somewhere.
Yes.
Access to market, access to finance, policies that need to change. So, all of those things also need to be communicated.
It sounds like you guys have like a lot of work. Even though you've ring-fenced or you're quite clear on who it is that you're targeting, it's a lot of work that needs to be done for change to be brought about in that sector. But
exactly. And that's why Abigail is talking about, the transitional and the transformational levels within that aspect. So this is just what we use as part of our theory of change.
Yeah.
So for example, us as an organization, we're saying by 2035, we want to see this well-functioning trade entrepreneurial ecosystem. Okay. So for that to happen, again, as I said, these programs that I'm talking about, so your start, where we are supporting 250 young entrepreneurs who start their business. At Build program, where we're supporting 300 people to, formalize and really build their businesses. At, the growth phase or stage, where we're supporting 50 of those who have matured to really tap into the next level of their business. Those are numbers that I can count, right? But unfortunately, it's not good enough.
Oh.
Because then that means quite a lot of people are not accessing these opportunities, right? So in the other part of the work that we're doing that I was talking about now is how are we using these numbers, just 250, 350, to really then demonstrate and see what can work so we can unlock these opportunities for the masses.
Yeah.
How can we unlock these opportunities for somebody who is sitting outside builders with a plaque written plumber?
Yes.
You see them all the time.
One does.
They're not accessing our opportunities. But we realize that these opportunities that we're talking about, and we say they are incremental because it's numbers that you can count.
Yeah.
I can tell, there's Abigail from Eastern Cape. But no, I need to be supporting 50,000 other Abigails.
Indeed. Well, thank you very much for coming on the Comms Hub. It's been a really enlightening conversation. Thanks for your time. Thanks for, you articulated everything so well.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank
Such
you.
a pleasure. So that's us from the Comms Hub. Please remember to like, comment, subscribe, and then until next time, goodbye.